Dane Wigington with Geoengineeringwatch.org. This is the third session of Climate Engineering Q&A. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can in this 20 to 25 minute segment. I apologize for not being able to get to all questions that have been submitted. I'll roll over other questions into upcoming sessions of Climate Engineering Q&A. I greatly appreciate all those that took the time to write in. If you wish to submit a question to be addressed on Climate Engineering Q&A, you can do so through the following email address, questions@geoengineeringwatch.org. First question on this week's session from Daniela. She asks this: Bill Gates now wants to do sun dimming. How does this differ from present dimming? Thank you. Thank you for your question, Daniela. Bill Gates is simply a puppet of distraction in this play, and all the geoengineering experimental programs that media is connecting him to are simply mass distractions for the public to make the public think that climate engineering operations are just a proposal, which is completely false. Global climate engineering operations have been at full scale since immediately after World War II. Beta testing went on long before that. So the bottom line with Bill Gates and climate engineering operations, Gates is nothing more than a distraction to take people's eyes and attention off the already existing ongoing global climate engineering assault. From RG, we have this question. He says, first, thank you for your perseverance. I'm a weekly follower. Thank you, RG. Thank you for standing with us in this battle. His question, does geoengineering affect residential solar power uptake? Question mark. Perhaps may help wake folks up if they believe that they may be losing money. Absolutely, RG. The global climate engineering operations deflect direct sunlight, which has a profound negative effect on solar PV uptake. That's what brought me into this issue in the first place when I built my large off-grid home in Northern California and was losing massive amounts of my solar PV uptake. I knew something was wrong. Condensation could not do this. This massive solar obscuration is hugely detrimental to solar PV uptake, and not just solar PV. Global climate engineering operations are reducing direct sunlight, diminishing solar power, reducing precipitation, which diminishes hydropower, and reducing overall wind. That doesn't mean there's not massive wind events. It means that overall wind flows are also diminished because climate engineering is affecting convection, which then affects wind. So the bottom line, in summary, climate engineering negatively affecting all three major forms of alternative energy. Next question from Maciek. Maciek asks, Douglas McMartin, that scientist, Douglas McMartin, he's a climate engineering scientist that is the face of geoengineering disinformation for academia. Maciek states, Douglas McMartin, and I am sure others like him, irrationally dismiss the fact that climate engineering operations occur based on altitude mentioned in many patents, which is roughly double the altitude they in fact do occur. Maciek's question, what difference apart from longer residency in the atmosphere would it make if the dispersions occurred at 70 to 80,000 feet? Question mark. Particularly with respect of heat trapping properties. Geoengineering aerosols have at night prevented the Earth from cooling itself, which is counterproductive to the stated goal of the entire scheme. Thanks for all you do, Dane. It's really beginning to get crazy, isn't it? How long till we even have the ability to communicate? All good questions, Maciek. First of all, in regard to the forms of denial from disinformation individuals like Dr. Douglas McMartin, they claim because the stated goal of climate engineering calls for higher altitude spray dispersions. Therefore, what we see at lower altitude can't be geoengineering because it's at the wrong altitude. It's a ridiculous circular argument that denies what is irrefutably proven that climate engineering operations are occurring in the troposphere. So to deny that they are occurring just because the stated goal of some geoengineers is to spray at higher altitudes is simply a baseless excuse for not acknowledging what's occurring above our heads every single day. So again, individuals like Dr. Douglas McMartin, Dr. David Keith, Dr. Ken Caldeira, the three most notorious names in the climate engineering disinformation campaign, they are simply there, they exist, and their job description is to propagate the criminal denial of the climate engineering operations. Next question. Liz asks this. What can we do to keep trees growing? Question mark. I lost 5 full-grown trees last spring. Liz, ultimately, if we don't expose and halt the climate engineering operations, all other efforts to try to keep various forms of the flora alive will ultimately be futile. You can experiment with soil pH through various methods of augmentation of the soil, But ultimately, we have the loss of the ozone layer, which is frying the trees' foliage from the top down. We have the decimation of microbial life in the soils from the contamination in the rain. Ultimately, we must expose and halt the climate engineering insanity, or all other points, all other efforts are moot. But thank you for your question, Liz. Thank you for standing with us in this battle. Next question. Anonymous asks this: could the Earth's natural hydrological cycle be enough to cool Earth's surface, like sweat on the surface of skin? Plus, would that surface level of heat remain conducive to sustaining some sort of terrestrial non-microbial life, i.e. animals, plants, humans specifically? Thank you. Thank you for your question, Anonymous. First, we are in completely uncharted territory. If the climate engineering assault isn't halted soon, that the atmosphere can repair itself from the damage done and the Earth allowed to respond on its own, the planet will soon lose its ability to make clouds. No forests, no plankton, and too much CO2 in the atmosphere, too much of other greenhouse gases like methane and nitrous oxide. The planet will lose its ability to even make clouds. Game over. Bottom line, with each passing day, we are further into uncharted territory. We must halt the climate engineering insanity. We must allow the hydrological cycle to completely resume low-level cumulus clouds that actually do cool the planet. That is our only chance to at least buy time. Thank you for your question, Anonymous. The next message and question is from LC. LC states, Dane, you're an inspiration for us all to keep going and never give up until we stop the atrocity going on in the skies above. Thank you. Thank you, LC. It's a team effort. It's all of us working together that can yet make a difference. LC states this: could you please explain the Venus syndrome? I've researched it, but I'm still not sure I understand. I know methane is a greenhouse gas that traps the Earth's heat, and it's my understanding that it also depletes the planet of oxygen. It is highly explosive at concentrations between 5% and 17%. Is there a scenario where a sudden release of massive amounts of methane could cause a chain reaction that could then cause a near instantaneous and violent rise in the planet's temperatures way beyond what any life form could endure? Is that the way it happened on Venus? Short answer is yes. Venus, the true sister planet to Earth, underwent a runaway greenhouse scenario. Now its oceans are in the atmosphere. The atmosphere is 100 times more dense than the atmosphere of Earth. Many people think Venus is 900 degrees plus on the surface because of its proximity to the sun. That is not true. All things being equal, Venus would be about 20 to 25 degrees warmer than Earth, but it's 900 degrees on the surface again because it underwent a runaway greenhouse effect. The same thing is happening on the planet, our planet, right now. On the current trajectory, because of feedback loops, and we believe there's 40 to 50 in swing right now, and methane is a key part of that. Feedback loop means once you start these dominoes tumbling, it feeds itself. So as the planet heats, methane, formerly frozen methane deposits thaw, migrate through the water column, hit the surface, migrate into the atmosphere, begin to cover the atmosphere like a layer of glass, trapping the heat, and this feeds upon itself. More heating, more methane release, more heat. This vicious cycle, if not halted, would eventually boil the oceans into the atmosphere, exactly what has happened on Venus. And this doesn't occur over many millions of years. Statistically, mathematically speaking right now, that potential exists to happen before the end of this century. That's how severe our situation is. It cannot be overstated. So the bottom line is, Venus syndrome is not a metaphor. It is a scientific scenario. To learn more, search geoengineeringwatch.org, Venus syndrome. Absolutely real possibility. And yes, it is depleting Earth's oxygen content as well. Also further destroying the ozone layer. Again, many feedback mechanisms in full swing right now. The exponential nature of the equation we face cannot be overstated. Our time frame on the current course is incredibly limited. Next question from Harry. Harry asks this: Hi Dane, hope you're well. Hold you in the highest regard and salute your courage. Again, team effort. Harry, thank you for standing with us. Like yourself, I try to reach as many people as possible to inform them of the ongoing geoengineering program. I have even fallen out of favor with certain members of my immediate family who regard everything I say or show on the matter as, quote, conspiracy. Again, conspiracy, the final fallback of the factless and the fearful. Harry, keep that in mind. He continues, the question I would like to ask is, if it were to stop tomorrow, i.e. geoengineering, how much damage has already been done to the environment, and how long would it take for the planet to recover? Unfortunately, Harry, the damage to the environment is irreparable in countless ways. If we stop this destruction tomorrow, starting with stopping climate engineering, Could some of the planet's life support systems be sustained? We can't know until we try. And that effort will absolutely take all of us. We must make every day count. In regard to an equilibrium period, a recovery period for the planet based on past paleo events like the PETM event, the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum 55 million years ago, a global mass extinction that happened at a far slower pace than what is happening now. In fact, the pace of what is happening now is literally hundreds of times faster than that event. And even after that event, the equilibrium period was 10 to 20 million years. The planet we have known is done. It's gone. It's not coming back. Now the question is, can we salvage any part of the Earth's life support systems? Again, we can't know unless we try. Thank you for standing with us in this effort, Harry. Next question. George asks this. Hey, Dane, it's George from Ohio. Why would the climate engineers spray/block sun when it's a 15-degree day in February? ? One thing that I can't figure out. George, it's imperative to understand that no matter how cold the surface temperatures are in a certain location like yours, overall, globally, the planet is descending into total meltdown. So the lower they can drive those temperatures, especially to create sensationalized headlines of cold, 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 it makes people in other regions where it's still unusually, incredibly, even record hot, it makes them think that it's normal somewhere or it's extraordinarily cold somewhere. And even in these cooler areas, their goal is to cool things off as much as they can. It's not that they leave an area alone once they think it's down to a proper temperature. They're simply trying to cool what they can, where they can, to create sensationalized headlines and the perception of cold on a planet that's in total meltdown. That's why. Thank you for your question, George. Thank you for standing with us in this battle. Moving on, next question from Mr. Wonder, who asks this. Do you think that it is at all possible that instead of just planning to perish with the rest of us, they, i.e. those in power, are building shelters underground that will be hospitable for humans even once the surface is uninhabitable? The reason I ask is because if you search YouTube for videos of underground booms, you will see that there are an endless amount of local news stories from all across the country about millions of people complaining about explosion-like booms coming from deep below the ground. No one can identify a cause. The DUMBs, the deep underground military bases, certainly exists. It's indisputable. The moles, they're called, these are massive tunnel boring mechanisms, some of them 5 stories high. You have to see the photographs of these this equipment, if you will, to even conceive of the massiveness of them. Certainly this is ongoing. It exists. Those in power likely think they are going to ride this out under the surface. That is not going to happen. As covered earlier in this Q&A session, Venus syndrome, on that track, no one gets out alive. Again, as I've outlined in numerous broadcasts, there's a common thread of insanity that is interwoven with all those who are at the top of the power structure pyramid, if you will. A near total lack of comprehension as to the consequences of their actions, even to themselves. So the bottom line answer to your question, Mr. Wonder, is if we remain on the current course, no, those in power will not survive much longer under the surface either. Thank you for your question. Thank you for standing with us in this battle. Next question from Karen. Karen asks this. I'm wondering how you find joy during these times, ? With a clean diet, exercise, fresh air, sunshine, to whatever degree that is available, meditation, and time with my dog, I am able to find some sense of calm and courage to go on, but I rarely feel joy. She continues, I used to feel so much joy, especially in nature, and now I just feel grief and rage when I look around and see all life forms literally dying. Karen continues with this. Human relationships are difficult. Most of my friends and all of my family are clueless, patronizing, and dismissive of my perspective. Interactions with them are tedious. She continues, for lack of a better word, I have been, quote, awakened for over 30 years, alert to the toxins in our food and water ever since I can remember, and then aware of the geoengineering issue since 2005 when the skies in San Diego started looking so different. Her final statement, there are no words to express how grateful I am to you for all you have sacrificed in the attempt to save humanity and the earth home we share. I sincerely hope that there is joy in your life. With love to you and your family. Thank you so much for such a kind message, Karen. I hope you find the same in your life. And the solace I find now, the core of any solace I feel, is staying in the front line, sounding the alarm, and doing everything in my power to try to help salvage what is yet left of the web of life. And so many now standing with us in this battle, and my deepest and most sincere gratitude to each and every one. And collectively, we have much more power than we would even imagine possible. Any one of us could be the final grain of sand to tilt the scale in the right direction. There is still much left worth fighting for. And again, as I've stated on many broadcasts, every bat, bird, bee, bear, everything that still fights to survive, that is still trying to do its job, to play its part in this incredible drama that we are caught up in. We must do our part for them. They have no voice except for us. Let's fight on. Let's face the storm head on. And yes, there is solace in that. Thank you again for your very kind message, Karen. Thank you for carrying. Next question from Mark. Mark asks this: who is carrying this out? Question mark. Military? Question mark. Directed by whom? Question mark. He finishes with this: when Trump ran for office in 2016, he questioned the spraying and that he would look into it. But has he? Question mark. First, let's start with the final question. I have no credible data to indicate Trump ever indicated he would look into this issue. We heard that rumor. We saw many claiming that. Don't see anything credible to back that up. Every administration, a part of this insanity, all of them, doesn't matter their political stripe. First question, though, who is carrying this out? All roads, Mark, lead back to the central bankers. Those who print the money, as I've stated in many broadcasts, I've tried to convey, those who print the money own militaries, thus they own countries. So we don't have a country with a government. We have a government that owns a country. Again, back to those who control the money printers. Thanks for your question, Mark. Moving on, next question is from Doug. Doug asks this: the people behind the geoengineering and chemtrailing breathe the same air as everyone else. Why would they poison themselves? Do they have advanced metal detox technology, or how do they avoid the ill effects? First, yes, it appears that there are extremely advanced chelation methods available to those in power that are not available to the rest of us. This is a cleansing method where the blood is actually pulled from the body and cleansed through very advanced technology. We know someone who has been to such a facility, and extraordinary amounts of aluminum and barium were pulled from their blood. This could have a staying off effect of the buildup of these metals in the rest of us, which is manifesting in countless forms of human diseases. So yes, there appear to be medical technologies that could help those in power avoid some of the fallout symptoms from the climate engineering operations. But we must consider this on the why would they do this to themselves question, which so many ask and so many use as a premise to walk away from facing this issue. We must consider what those in power have done to themselves in so many other arenas. Again, the detonation of over 2,000 nuclear weapons on the planet, which has contaminated the entire web of life and every single living organism. We have Fukushima, which may be an extinction level event by itself. 3 reactors in total meltdown, no technology to fix it, no end in sight. There are some 440 other nuclear facilities on the planet. We have another 60 being built right now. We have enough nuclear weapons to exterminate life on Earth, or the human race, at least about 10,000 times over. We are not dealing with sanity. We are dealing with a cancer of insanity. Does a cancer intend to kill itself? No. A cancer intends to proliferate until the host dies. And that is the trajectory we are on. So again, the notion that those in power wouldn't do this to themselves does not hold up with any scrutiny or investigation. So please consider that. Not dealing with sanity. Thanks for your question, Doug. I'll try to get to a couple more questions in this session. Sarah asks this: thank you for taking my question. I believe geoengineering is as serious a threat as you have stated for many years now. Why are politicians and government officials refusing to talk about it? Question mark. The only agenda they push are the problem with car, factory, and other emissions as they work toward, quote, climate control. Are they really that blind to the bigger picture? Question mark. It is now so obvious and the air so polluted that it seems they're purposely avoiding the subject. Either that or maybe they're half dead. She finishes with, thank you so much for relentlessly reaching out to us. I'm sure many more are hearing the truth now because of your hard work. Sincerely, Sarah. From Dublin, California. Sarah, my gratitude back to you. Again, it is our collective efforts that can yet make a difference at this late hour. In regard to your questions and why politicians are not addressing this issue, because they know their paychecks, pensions, personal paradigms, and perhaps their own health or safety of their family depend on them not addressing this issue. This is the no-go issue for anybody in the system. I worked with and had many meetings with Congressman Doug LaMalfa, with him and his staff. They fully acknowledged the climate engineering reality until they were told from above to leave the issue alone, and they did an immediate 180-degree turn in their addressing of the issue, going so far as sending their staff to geoengineeringwatch.org events to meet people at the door as they were leaving, telling them that this was false on their own time. It appeared on their own time. It was 10 o'clock at night. So bottom line is, those in the system, those who are the minions for the power structure, and that includes all so-called elected officials. They do what they're told. Here's the bottom line. It's up to us. We are the ones we've been waiting for. It's up to all of us to help push this issue to the full light of day, to reach a critical mass of awareness so that our military brothers and sisters understand they are participating in their own demise, in the demise of their own families. Only then, only with a critical mass of awareness do we have any chance of stopping these programs. And when we reach a critical mass of awareness, all those who hold political office, who have participated in the criminal cover-up of climate engineering, one can only hope will be then held legally and morally accountable by a public that is justifiably enraged at what has been done to them. Thank you for asking your question, Sarah. Final question in this session is from Justin. Justin asks this: upon what consequences or upon what realization or circumstances do you suspect that geoengineering operations will cease? ? Justin finishes with this: when life is no longer possible on planet Earth? Justin, the only way we can stop these programs, again, is from the inside out, from reaching a critical mass of awareness in the population, which would, of course, include waking up our military brothers and sisters who are the core pillar in these programs. If they can be awakened and forced to face the fact that they are exterminating themselves and their own posterity along with the rest of us, one can only hope they will stand down and refuse to participate in this insanity any longer. Final question from Justin: in what ways do you most seek assistance? And how can individuals or organizations around the world contribute to helping you with those problems you want to overcome? Indeed, the whole ship is sinking, Justin, and we are all on it. This effort will take all of us. Please go to the homepage of geoengineeringwatch.org, search the activist suggestions link to find out in great detail how each and every one of us can help to turn the tide in the right direction, can help to take a positive leap in the right direction. The most quantum leap we can make is to expose and halt the climate engineering insanity. If we can do that, then we must address the long list of other challenges we face. But climate engineering operations, aka weather warfare, aka biological warfare, is the biggest hole in the bottom of the boat, is the greatest and most immediate threat we collectively face short of nuclear cataclysm. Thank you for your question, Justin. Final statement on the record: there can be no legitimate discussion of the climate or the state of the climate from any perspective without first and foremost addressing the climate engineering factor in the equation. My most sincere gratitude to all those that submitted questions for this week's installment of Climate Engineering Q&A. My apologies to those whose questions I was not able to get to this week. I'll do my absolute best to cover those questions on the next installment of Climate Engineering Q&A. In the meantime, let's all keep sounding the alarm, share credible data from a credible source, make every day count. This is Dane Wigington from Geoengineeringwatch.org.